Alright, what's up YouTube? This is your boy Dark Spartan again, doing the final half of my book collection video, which is showing the final half of my Stephen King books. Again, I got my notes right here. And the first one we're going to start off with is, it was released in 2001. And if you're wondering, it was released in 2001. That is Black House, which he co-wrote with Peter Straub. It is actually a sequel to The Talisman. Really good book. I actually like The Talisman a little bit better, but I thought this one was really good. Again, this ties into the Dark Tower series. It has not been adapted into a film yet. So that is Black House. Okay, and then the next one we're going to go to. Excuse me one moment. Sorry about that. Cat jumped on my shelf. The next one we're going to go to was released in 2002. And that is From a Buick 8. I love that cover. You see the back. On the back it says there are Buicks everywhere. Have not read this one yet. I do know it ties into the Dark Tower series in some way. I have not read it yet. So that's really all I got to say about it. Next one is one I don't have. It is actually it was released in 2003. It is actually The Dark Tower 5: The Wolves of the Kala. And again, if you guys haven't heard, we are getting the Dark Tower movie in January of next year, starring Idris Elba as Roland Deschain and Matthew McConaughey as the Man in Black. And there's been some other casting news. They have cast, from what I understand, they have cast Jake Chambers yet. I do not remember the kid's name. I probably will eventually end up doing a video of my thoughts on the Dark Tower movie. Just I don't know when. But anyway, that was Wolves of the Kala. And then in the next one, we have, was released in 2004. And that is this one. This is the Dark Tower 6, Song of Susanna. This is the trade paperback version. I actually like that cover. And this version actually includes an excerpt from Went Through the Keyhole. So, which we'll talk about later. There's that one again. We do have the Dark Tower movie coming out next year. And then this one, the next one, we have, which was also released in 2004, is the final Dark Tower book. Dark Tower 7, The Dark Tower. See, really cool. Oh, and 6. This one does have the illustrations in it. This one is also fully illustrated. In fact, I'll show you my favorite one. 6. Here it is. My favorite one is this one right here. That's the Crimson King sitting on his throne of skulls. It's a really cool picture. Okay. And excuse me for 1 second. Okay, and the next one we're going to show, well, the next one we're going to talk about is one I don't have actually. It was released in 2005. It's called The Colorado Kid, and I have not read it yet. It has been adapted into a TV series on Sci-Fi called Haven. I have seen a couple of episodes of the TV series. It's actually pretty good. But anyway, that is The Colorado Kid. The next one we are going to talk about was released in 2006. And that one is this one right here, Cell. And this is basically Stephen King's version of the zombie apocalypse. And this is being turned into a movie starring John Cusack, Samuel L. Jackson. From what I understand, they have filmed it. It hasn't been given a release date yet. They are saying tentatively sometime this year. I really want to see it. I still have not read this book yet. Hopefully, we'll be able to read it before the movie comes out. So that is Cell. And then the next one we're going to get into was also released in 2006, and that is this one, Lizzie's Story. Again, another one I have not read yet. So that is Lizzie's Story. I do like the cover. I like how. Sorry, see if I can do this right. Get that right there, and then that. Just that. I've heard it's actually a really good book. I am looking forward to reading it. Got some other books I'm reading right now, though. And then the next one we're going to talk about was released in 2007. It's one I do not have. It's called Blaze. It was actually released under the Richard Bachman name. Have not read that one. I've read all the other Bachman books. I just haven't read that one yet. I don't even have it, so I'm hoping to get it soon. So we'll see how everything goes. Next one after that was released in 2008, and that is Doomakey. Again, one I have not read yet. Looking forward to reading it. So there's Doomakey. And this one has not been adapted into a novel yet. Neither has Lizzie's Story. No movie yet. Neither has Lizzie's Story. Okay, after that is one of my favorites. I do not have it. I wish I did. It was released in 2009. It's called Under the Dome. It's one of my favorite Stephen King novels. It was adapted into a TV series for CBS, which lasted 3 seasons. The series was okay. I thought it was okay. Could have been better. Could have followed the book a little bit more. But I understand they were adapting it for television and they had to make changes. So, but that is Under the Dome. And next one actually is right here. The next one I have we're going to talk about was released in 2011. Another one of my favorite books. It is 11/22/63. This, of course, is the one about the guy who goes back in time to stop the Kennedy assassination. Excellent book. I blew through this book. I don't know, maybe in a few days. I just couldn't put it down. It is currently being adapted into a 8-part miniseries on Hulu. They are up to episode 5 right now, and I actually really enjoy the series. I'm really enjoying it. The changes that they made, I thought have really worked. They've really stuck to the crux of what the story is, even though they've changed the order of some things and added some things. But again, they've stayed to what the story is about. So that is 11/22/63. The next one I'm going to talk about was released in 2012. And that is The Wind Through the Keyhole. And as you see right there, it says a Dark Tower novel.
Sammy, what were you calling me for?
Oh.
What?
Sorry about that. My mom just walked in. But anyway, this is Stephen King's Went Through the Keyhole. As you can see right there, it says a Dark Tower novel. This is actually kind of a tie-in book to the Dark Tower series. It takes place between Within a Glass and Wolves of the Kala. I am currently reading this one right now, and I love it so far. So that is Went Through the Keyhole. Next one I'm going to be talking about is one that was released in 2013, and that is Joyland. Have not read this one yet. I've heard it's really good, but I've heard it's really depressing, so I'm looking forward to reading it. But so yeah, that is Joyland. Okay, then the next one we're going to talk about.
What?
I'm doing a YouTube video. It was released in 2013, and that is Dr. Sleep. And this is actually a sequel to The Shining. I love this book. I will be reviewing this book. So there's Dr. Sleep. Sorry guys, I had to change rooms. So where were we? The next one we were on was... Okay, yeah. Sorry, people keep coming in and out. But anyway, okay, the next one we're going to talk about was released in 2014, and that is Mr. Mercedes. This is the first part of the Bill Hodges trilogy, and this is actually a really good book. I did like it. I'm looking forward to reading the other two. I haven't read the second one and the third one. We'll talk about those in a little bit. But anyway, there's Mr. Mercedes. Just put that over there for. And then the next one we're going to talk about was also released in 2014, and that is Revival. Just finished this book. I just finished it, and I loved this book. Hopefully, we'll be doing a review on it soon. But this was a really, really good book. It had a very Lovecraftian feel to it, and which I love because I'm a huge Lovecraft fan. Anyway, and there are rumors that this might be turned into a film. Those have been floating around within the last, I want to say, month or so. We'll see how that turns out. I would love to see it be made into a film. I think it would make a great film. But there is Revival. Next one we're going to talk about is one I don't have. It was released in 2015, and that is Finders Keepers, which is the second part of the Bill Hodges trilogy. Again, I have not read that one. And then the final novel we're going to talk about is the third part of the Bill Hodges trilogy, End of Watch, which comes out in June of this year. Hopefully we'll be getting that when it comes out. So now we are going to move on to the collections. And the first collection we're going to talk about is one that was released in 1978, and it's this one right here. It's Night Shift. And there are quite a few stories in here. Let's see how many there are. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There are 20 stories in here. A lot of them are. I love this collection. A lot of his great stories in here, like there's Jerusalem's Lot, which is a prequel to Salem's Lot. Graveyard Shift, which is really good. Graveyard Shift was adapted into a made-for-TV movie, which was okay. Night Surf, which I believe, let's see if this is it right here. Yeah, was the basis for The Stand. So basically, some of the stuff that the ideas, stuff that he wrote here were ideas for what later became The Stand. I am the Doorway is actually pretty good. The Mangler is really good. Battleground is excellent. That was actually adapted into the Full Dark No Star, not Full Dark, Nightmares and Dreamscapes miniseries. Trucks was really good. It's actually been adapted twice. The first time was as a theatrical movie that was written and directed by Stephen King himself, called Maximum Overdrive, and then just a few years ago it was readapted into a made-for-TV movie called Trucks. Sometimes They Come Back. That's another good one. That's been adapted before. The Ledge has been adapted. Is really good, and I believe they combined. I believe that was in Cat's Eye. Yeah, I believe it was in Cat's Eye. I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that one. I believe it was adapted for the anthology from Cat's Eye. The Lawnmower Man is really good. That has been adapted into a movie. The movie's nowhere near as good as the book. I still kind of like it though. Quitters Inc. is really good. That was also I know for sure was adapted into the anthology film Cat's Eye, which starred Drew Barrymore, and it basically had a bunch of different short stories. I believe The Ledge was one of them, but one of them was including Quitters Inc. I Know What You Need is a really good one. Children of the Corn, excellent. We all know about the Children of the Corn movie starring Linda Hamilton, and I can't remember the dude's name at the moment. But yeah, that is Night Shift. We'll put that right there for right now. The next collection we're going to talk about was released in 1982. It's one I do not have. It's called Different Seasons. It's actually 4 novellas. And those novellas are Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, Apt Pupil, The Body, and The Breathing Method. 3 of those have been adapted into films, obviously. Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption was adapted into The Shawshank Redemption. Apt Pupil was adapted into Apt Pupil, which was directed by Bryan Singer. And The Body was adapted into Stand By Me, which was directed by Rob Reiner. All of them, and The Shawshank Redemption was, of course, directed by Frank Darabont. All of them, all 4 novellas, great. Particularly Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, Apt Pupil, and the Body. I did like The Breathing Method, just not as much as those 3. And the 3 adaptations that were made for those are excellent. Are just amazing films. The next collection we're going to talk about was released in 1985. And that is called Skeleton Crew, and that is a collection of, I believe it's close to 20 short stories. I do not have it, unfortunately, so I can't tell you exactly how many there are. And some of the short stories in there are The Mist, which actually takes up a good chunk of the book. That, of course, was adapted by Frank Darabont into a movie starring Thomas Jane, which is really good. You also got The Raft, which was adapted into the anthology from Creepshow 2. You've got some stories like Word Processor of the Gods, the Jaunt, Paranoia Chant, all of them really, really good. And Grandma, which I do believe has been adapted, it just has into a film. It just hasn't been released yet. So that is Skeleton Crew. The next one I'm going to talk about was released in 1985. It's another one I don't have. and that is the Bachman books. And basically, what it is, it's just Rage, The Long Walk, Roadwork, and The Running Man all collected into one volume. And it has got a introduction by Stephen King on stating on why he started using the pseudonym Richard Bachman. But that, yeah, it's just basically a collection of those 4 stories. The next one I'm going to talk about was released in 1990. Is another one I do not have. I'm actually missing quite a few of the collections. And that is 4 Past Midnight. And that is much like different seasons. It is a collection of 4 novellas. I believe they are Secret Window, Secret Garden, The Langoliers, there's one called The Night Watchman or something like. I believe one was called The Night Watchman and Sundog. All really good. Langoliers was adapted into a made-for-TV miniseries, which was okay, and Secret Window, Secret Garden was adapted into the movie Secret Garden, starring Johnny Depp. The other 2 have not been adapted yet. So that is that one. And if you excuse me, I need to. We'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I had to go get the next book. The next collection I'm going to talk about was released in 1993, and that is Nightmares and Dreamscapes. This is the mass market paperback edition. I've had this for quite a while. There are 20 shorts. There are 20 short stories in here, but there is also, I believe, an essay. It's pretty good. Some of my favorite stories in here are, my favorite story in here is Dolan's Cadillac. It's an amazing story. Night Flyer is pretty good. They got a hell of a band. In fact, the Night Flyer was adapted into a film. I don't know if Dolan's Cadillac has been adapted yet. It might have been. I'm not sure. They got a hell of a band was adapted for the Nightmares and Dreamscapes miniseries that they did. Let's see, Sorry Right Number is another good one. Crouch End is another good one. That was also adapted for the Nightmares and Dreamscapes miniseries, as was Omni's Last Case. So, yeah, and Brooklyn August is the essay that Stephen King wrote. This is the nonfiction essay. It's basically about Little League Baseball. So there's that one. And the next one we're going to talk about is this one right here. It was released in 1999. It is Hearts in Atlantis. Now it is listed as a collection because it is 4 stories, but the stories actually interlock with each other. So you can also consider it a novel. But I go with what they listed as, and they listed as the Stephen King website and Simon & Schuster, which is his publisher, listed as, or Scribner, which is his publisher, listed as a collection. So I'm going to stick with that. But it is an excellent book. It's very. It's not unlike anything. It's not like anything Stephen King had written before. There is paranormal, but it's not stuff in it. But it's not scary. It's very character driven, as a lot of Stephen King's works are. But there's really a really good emotional story at the core of this. And this does tie into the Dark Tower series. I'm not going to say how. This was adapted into a film starring Anthony Hopkins. Film was okay. The performances were, they could have been better. At times it did look like Anthony Hopkins was mailing it in. But that is Hearts in Atlantis. Next one we're going to do was released in 2002, and that is Everything's eventual, and as you can see, it says right there, 14 Dark Tales. So there's 14 stories in this one. There's some really good ones in here too. Let's see. Cool thing about this is that each story has a little introduction by Stephen King as to why he wrote it and stuff like that. There's another collection that I have where he did the same thing. But some of my favorite stories in here are Autopsy Room 4, The Man in the Black Suit. Autopsy Room 4 was also adapted into for that Nightmares and Dreamscapes miniseries that was done. And The Man in the Black Suit. Little Sisters of Valoria is really good. That is actually a prequel to the first Dark Tower book, The Gunslinger, because it shows a young Roland Deschain. Everything's Eventual is actually really good. 1408 is excellent. Of course, it was adapted into a movie starring John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. Riding the Bullet is another excellent one that was adapted into a made-for-TV movie. Yeah, but there's a bunch of really good stories in this one right here. The next one is one I do not have, and it's actually one I have not read. And that is it was released in 2008, and that is Just After Sunset. I believe there are 14 stories or 13 stories in that one. Again, I have not read it, so I couldn't tell you for sure. The next one we're going to go into was released in 2010, and that is Full Dark No Stars. This is much like Different Seasons and Four Past Midnight. This is a collection of 4 novellas. The novellas being I think it's 1922. Let's see. Yeah, 1922, Big Driver, Fair Extension, and A Good Marriage. All of them are excellent. This is actually one of the better collections of his. Big Driver and A Good Marriage have been adapted into 2 films. Big Driver was adapted into a Lifetime original movie. Can't remember who it starred. Good Marriage was adapted into a film starring Joan Allen, Anthony LaPaglia. Film was good, but it was way different from the book, and the screenplay was actually written by Stephen King. But anyway, but I thought it was pretty good. One of my favorites though is Fair Extension. It's fucking hilarious. I mean, and it's just mean in how hilarious. It's hilarious, but it's also mean. So that is Full Dark No Stars. And the last one the collections we are going to talk about is the more recent collection that was just released in November of this past year. And that is The Bazaar of Bad Dreams. I've read some of the stories in here. I have not read all of them. A lot of my favorite stories are in here. In fact, I believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there are 20 stories that are in here. And the ones that I've read are My Lady One, which is excellent. Let's see, Morality, which was actually part of the little Blockhead Billy book. And Blockhead Billy's also in here also. And that's another one I've read. And it was really good. And then Drunken Fireworks. And Drunken Fireworks was excellent. I do plan on reading this whole thing cover to cover, so read all the stories. So that is, I love the cover of this. It's got a nice matte finish to it. Bizarre Bad Dreams. Next, we're going to get in. Next one was we're going to talk about the two kind of miscellaneous books I have here. One is, and this was released, I believe. Let me see when this was released. This might have been released in '99. My previous video I did my Stephen King books, I said '97, but it was actually released in '99. And this was Storm of the Century. Now this is a screenplay that he wrote. Let's see. It was a ABC miniseries. There was a 3-part miniseries. It does have our pictures in there from the series. It's actually really good. And then the last one we're going to talk about is one I refer to a lot, me being a writer, and that is On Writing, a memoir of the craft. This is actually the 10th anniversary edition. This is an excellent read. The first half of it is basically like a autobiography. Tells a little bit about his life, how he first, how Carrie got published, his battle with drugs and alcohol, and then it goes into kind of a writing masterclass of how to write prose. So, and then in the original book, there was a book list that he had put in of books that he read that were very insightful to him and he thought would be insightful to aspiring writers. This one actually has and cool thing about before we get to that, cool thing about this one, cool thing about On Writing, and he never expected to publish this or anything like that. He just did it as to show the writing process. Yeah, is that you see that, or it says the hotel story, and it's like a little excerpt from a short story. So you can see. Well, that is actually the early beginnings for what became 1408. He actually did that to show the difference between writing a rough draft and a final draft, and the changes that were made, and he loved writing it so much that he actually turned it into a short story. So that is really cool. But going back to the book list, in the original book, in the original first edition, he put in a list of books that were inspirational to him and he thought would be inspirational to others. This one, he has actually updated the list. Okay, here is the original list. As you can see, there's the original book list. So he's even got some more of the original book list right there. He's even got some J.K. Rowling in here. And then right here on this side is an updated version of is the additions to the book list. And you see he's got all the Jack Reacher novels from Lee Child. There's some more. So that's really cool. But anyways, that is my entire book collection. I will be in the next video. I will be doing is a quick book update video, which is basically only going to be a let's just say to be read / book haul video. So I will see you guys then.